What up guys, Justice here. Today I'm going to be taking you through a guide of how to tank Kalphite King as efficiently as possible, and this is post the buff which happened a few months ago, where the Kalphite King now increases his damage output and the minions are absolutely brutal against any team. So this is going to be a guide of how to kill the Kalphite King as efficiently as possible, how to tank KK but as well DPS to the max whilst you're tanking. As you can see, the footage is from the perspective of a good friend of mine, the one and only Jacko, and the reason for this is because it's got some epic footage here of him actually tanking KK in Void, and this is insane footage, so I'll just let you enjoy this whilst you're listening to different tanking tips and DPS tips. And in order to actually tank KK in Void in such a small team, like Jacko's doing right now, really does seriously take a lot of no-lifing, a lot of experience, so hope you enjoy that footage in the background. I will be taking you guys through each of the Kalphite King's attacks, the exact order in which he carries out each attack on each phase, and then the different abilities you should be using in order to counteract these attacks and literally take almost no damage and also increase your DPS output. Each of the attack styles of KK will be written in the description below, so you can actually reference that when you're killing KK, and also even have it up on screen on a different document whilst you're watching the guide in order to understand it more clearly. Also, a little tip, this is going to be a lot of knowledge and a lot of information to take in, and therefore just keep pausing and playing in different sections and rewinding for whenever you need to, because it is a lot of information to take in. Okay, so to start off, KK will be in the melee phase, and the attacks will be in the following chronological order. Starting with Dismember, he will then use a Stomp attack and will push you back as the tank. He will then use Slaugher on you in Dismember, he will then charge you and then Stomp again, use Slaugher, and then he will green attack you. And at that point, obviously, you want to be voked off by your teammate. So, in order to counteract all of these attacks, you need to do the following. Okay, so with reference to the notes below in the description and KK's attacks, attack 5 is the second Dismember attack within the melee phase. So when KK Dismembers you first, as soon as you get in there basically, don't use Freedom yet. Save that until he uses a Slaughter on you, and then he'll use a Dismember on you, and then use Freedom. So at that point, you'll actually take less damage as a whole, meaning you'll eat less, and also you'll be able to get healed potentially by your Voker when he vokes it off you when you get greened. If you get moved when you're under a Slaughter attack, and by the way, you can tell if you're under a Slaughter attack because it'll show on your screen on the buff interface, where it'll show you've got overload on, prayers on, etc. It'll actually show that you're being slaughtered by KK. And at that point, if he moves you with a push or whatever, then just make your way back to the original position where he actually slaughtered you, and then you'll take less damage. Otherwise, if you're moving about, then you'll take a lot more damage from the Slaughter effect. It's exactly the same as if you did it on Virago, for example. You slaughtered him and he moves back on phase 5, etc. So it's exactly the same effect. Don't move. If you do get moved, just get back to your original position and you won't get damaged as much. If you don't know where you stood originally when you got the Slaughter attack upon you, then don't worry, just use Debilitate and that'll half the damage you actually receive from it. So that's basically the melee phase over, and just to summarize it, just try not to move at all. If you get the Slaughter mode, get back to your original position. If not, use Debilitate, and remember, don't use Freedom straight away. Wait until that second Dismember attack is on you, so then you take less damage. Another little tip, if you're going for, let's say, just one kill in a small team, you can build up your adrenaline on the minions outside of the Kalphite King cave, and in that way, as the tank, you want to build up to then use Zerk before you go in, and then you can max your DPS as a tank. You want to be using Severe, Decimate, then you want to drink an adrenaline pot. If you do get up to 50% adrenaline by just using those two abilities with a pot, then you want to be using Destroy, and you can actually dodge KK's push attack on you, which means you can actually deal a lot more damage, which speeds up the kill really. If you don't, that's not compulsory though, okay, so that's like elite, right, and that's what Jacko actually does in this kill with his Void, etc. Don't worry if you can't do that, because you should have DPSs on your team who can deal enough damage. That just helps really, and that's for those pros out there, if you can actually manage this. So again, just to wrap that up, you want to build up your adrenaline before you go in, use Berserk, then use Severe, Decimate, drink an adrenaline pot. If you get 50% or more adrenaline, use a destroy attack. If you can't get up to 50% in time, then don't worry, don't bother using it because it'll get cancelled with KK's push attack anyway. Okay, so on to KK's range attacks. As soon as he goes into the range phase, the first attack he'll use is a stun attack, and again, reference to the description below. The second attack will be a fragmentation shot, which is a bleed upon you. And at this point you can use freedom, because he'll just use 2 normal range attacks after that. You will then get greened, which is the insta-kill attack. At that point you'll get voked off, hopefully, if your teammates are good, and you won't get killed. Then you want to voke it back off them, and you'll get an incendiary shot on you from KK. You will then get a stun attack, and then he will dig. And then it will just restart from 1 when he appears from the ground. Okay, so back to the beginning. When KK uses the stun attack, his first attack, do not be tempted to use freedom straight away. Again, be patient and wait until he uses his fragmentation shot, and then use freedom in order to stop the bleed attack instantly. Okay, another trivia tip, when you're the tank in the range phase, as soon as you're greened, right after that, when you evoke it back onto you, use the debilitate ability. The reason for this is because the incendiary shot and stun attack, which Kalphite King will deal upon you straight after the green attack which he uses, can deal up to a lot of damage upon you. So again, just use debilitate instantly. This will reduce the damage you receive. Now, a very important note for both tanks and DPSs: as soon as it hits onto range phase, do not use a stun ability. The reason for this is because when KK digs, he can dig multiple times, and this is extremely annoying because you won't be able to get as much DPS onto KK, you'll take more damage as a whole, and it'll be a slower kill. Another huge tip: in order to avoid being greened early on within this phase, you want to be using Zerk. So don't use Zerk straight away. What you want to do is, after the first normal range attack, KK will continue with an incendiary shot. Build up to full adrenaline. Then, when KK digs, wait until he comes back up and then use Berserk. At this point, you can then just fire out those basics and then thresholds. This will reduce you actually getting green due to the damage you're actually dealing. Okay, so on to the magic phase. I will just take you through the different attacks which KK uses, and again, this is the easiest phase to actually tank KK. So it starts with a yellow ball, mage ball, and then a blue one right after. The yellow ball will bleed unless you get hit by more than 1 ball at a time. And if you are within the space of, let's say, 2 yellow balls, then it can hit between 1 or even 2k damage each. So the second attack will be just a yellow ball. You can actually take that, to be honest. You can tank it because it's just 1 ball. KK will usually then dig. He will then use 2 yellow balls at the same time. Both will damage and therefore move away. After that, he'll just use 1 yellow ball, which you can tank again if you want to be in close range, if you're meleeing. And then he will actually charge. At this point, you want to obviously dodge. You'll see throughout the footage, when KK charges, he basically he goes into like a bright colour, and then basically you can't actually attack him anymore. You just want to get out of the way of him, otherwise he can damage you up to 3k. After the charge, you will then use a second stun and then a blue ball. Now I'm going to go through a few tips which you can actually, for example, heal off the blue balls. You can heal off those with resonance, and I'll just take you through different methods of how you can actually do that on this phase. Now again, KK will change from phase to phase completely randomly, and I'm pretty certain there is no way you can actually predict what phase he's going to turn into in terms of when. So this tip I'm going to give you now is extremely hard to pull off. I can only pull it off every so often, very rare. However, Jacko is extremely good at pulling it off, and that's why he's extremely good tank and can actually void it out. But basically, the method you want to use, as soon as you see KK go into the mage phase, you want to hit your anticipation button. The reason for this is because KK would have stunned you. That means you can actually run away from KK, hit your shield on, and then use resonance, because straight after the yellow ball, KK will actually cast out a blue magic ball which you can heal on. That's extremely hard to pull off. It's not compulsory. It's just, again, for those elite pro PVMers out there, if you can pull that off, extremely helpful. You can use a lot less food, and that's what Jacko actually has to do in this kill, which you're watching now, in order to tank in void without using any food. By the way, he does not use any food. Again, let me know if you actually have pulled this off and this tip actually helped you. Write in the comment section below if you can pull this off, or show me some video footage with a link and I'll check that out. Okay, so with reference to KK's abilities again in the magic phase, after the charge attack, which is number 6 on the list in the description below, you want to be using Anticipation. The reason for this is to prevent being stunned. You can then switch to your shield and use Resonance, because KK will fire a blue ball after he's attempted to stun you, which means again you can heal off that. Okay guys, so to keep it simple, don't use the stun ability as well in the magic phase. The reason for this is because it actually does mess up when he does the blue ball in the original order, which I stated. So if you don't use a stun ability, straight after the first charge in the magic phase, he will, you want to be using Anticipation because he will cast a blue ball. You then want to hit your shield on and use Resonance to heal it. Okay, so a few DPS tips on the magic phase whilst you are tanking. After the blue ball attacks, he does a bleed attack. That can easily be tanked, so don't worry about it. It doesn't hit that high. If you're standing alone, just use Freedom or a Magic Prayer after it hits you. Also take note that you need to run around quite a lot, and the bleed attacks stop after he charges or digs. So make sure that you use a bleed attack after a charge or a dig, not before. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it in terms of the actual different phases, the different tank tips which you want to take on board in order to make it as efficient as possible, and also a few DPS tips there as the tank, because again, you know, you will be dual wielding most of it. You're not going to need a shield much. You want to get KK down as quick as you can. So on to different tips now, not to do with the phases specifically, but to do with the minions. So the minions, since the buff of KK, are absolutely insane. They deal a lot of damage. You can actually get up to 500s each hit from each of them if you're not careful. So again, you want to be switching to Magic Prayer as often as possible if you're within them. When the minions spawn, you want to be using Escape so you don't actually get hit straight away with a large amount of damage. Now, in order to know or predict when the minions are going to spawn, your entire team will get a 2-second stun. If your entire team gets that stun, that means the minions are on the way. So you want to be using Escape straight away. Obviously you want to use Freedom to get out of the stun, then use Escape. That'll actually make you move away from the spawn, because if you're underneath the minions when they spawn from the ground, they can deal a lot of damage, and again you may get KO'd. Okay, so there are two instances where the minions will spawn in the kill. The first instance is when the KK gets up to 200k HP or life points. As soon as he hits below 200k life points, they will spawn. So that's another way to predict. You can hover your mouse over KK and have a look at what his life points are, and then when the stun goes into effect, follow the process which I just went through. The second time KK actually spawns the minions are when his life points go below 65k. Now, note on the 200k LP, there will spawn only 5 minions. At the 65k, there will spawn 10 minions with 5 each time. Note that if you use Freedom or Anticipation, you don't get a stun, and you'll have to watch your teammates if they get stunned. So again, you've really got to be working as a team. You want to shout out if you feel like your whole team's just been stunned, and then you want to escape from KK. When the minions spawn, your entire team needs to concentrate on taking them down. So the first lot of minions, when they spawn, take them down as fast as possible, and again the second lot, take them down as well. Use thresholds, get rid of them, otherwise you're going to get damaged a lot. Okay guys, so I hope you can take all of that in. There's a lot of information there. Again, just pause, rewind, take it all in, and I'm sure you'll get some extremely effective KK kills as a tank. On another note, KK, when it first came out, used to be an extremely good moneymaker. I remember just going into my past basically of the game. This is when I first really got into PVMing. I actually got my first Drygores from KK in terms of raising the money for it, and this really helped me get into PVMing when it first came out. Drygores, I've made my money back well and truly from purchasing those things. So again, if you haven't got Drygores yet, you know, if you are just starting out PVMing, seriously save up for them. They will literally, you will make your money back so easily. You'll get into better teams for bossing. But again, I hope this guide helped you out. KK isn't cost effective anymore, but if you go with a small team, a duo or a trio, it can be extremely fun, and especially if you concentrate on the abilities which I've gone through and the different counter attacks, it can get extremely fun. So good luck with your trips. Again, if you like the video, hit that like button and subscribe for more future ultimate guides. And also, I do appreciate any comments below, and I will reply to all of them. So again, I'll see you in the next video guys. See you later. Bye.